Olivia took a deep breath as she stared at her reflection in the mirror. No matter how hard she tried to diet, she never seemed to lose any weight. She sighed, then stepped out of her room and headed to the living room to wait for Marcus, the son of her parents' close friends. Mr. Robert Parker and Mrs. Diane Parker. Their families had been close for years. She'd only seen Marcus once at Mr. Robert's birthday party the previous week. She wasn't the type to enjoy parties, so that single encounter was her only interaction with him. But even from that brief meeting, she had started to admire him. She couldn't deny how handsome Marcus was. That's why she had forced herself to go on a diet, hoping he might like her too, though it never seemed to make a difference. When she reached the living room, the doorbell rang. "I'll get the door," her father said, and stepped outside. She sat next to her mother. "Mom, what are they here for?" she asked. Honey," her mother began, but was cut off when they heard approaching footsteps. They both turned to look as three men entered the room. Mr. Robert, her father, and Marcus. Her heart pounded faster as their eyes met. She quickly looked away, unable to hold his gaze for too long. Once they were inside, Mr. Robert and Marcus sat on the couch across from them, while her father sat next to her mother. "Good morning, Mr. Robert," she greeted politely. Then she turned to Marcus, who was still staring at her without expression. "Good morning, Marcus," she greeted warmly. He smiled and returned her greeting. She turned back to her father, silently questioning him with her eyes. He cleared his throat, and what he said next made her break into a sweat. "Sweetheart, we're planning for you and Marcus to get married as soon as possible," her father announced. Olivia looked at her mother, then at Marcus and Mr. Robert, but they all appeared serious. "I want you to be my wife, Olivia," Marcus said. At that moment she felt like she was floating. She nodded in agreement. Why would she play hard to get when the man she liked was offering marriage? "I want you to be my husband too," she said, making their parents smile. "Looks like we won't have any issues, in-laws," Robert told her father. Her father, Thomas, smiled. "Exactly." They started talking about the wedding. It would be held quickly to expedite the process, but they all agreed Olivia and Marcus would get to know each other first, so they wouldn't be strangers once they were married. After the discussion, Marcus and his father left. Marcus had also gotten her phone number. She couldn't stop smiling at that moment. This was what it felt like to be noticed by your crush, and not just that. He would soon be her husband. The next morning, Olivia went to the apartment of her friend Natalie. She was sitting on the couch, waiting for her friend to finish preparing their snacks. When Natalie returned, she was carrying a plate with a juicy hamburger. Olivia's mouth watered just looking at how delicious it looked. Natalie was a chef, so of course it was bound to be good. Natalie placed the plate on the center table and sat beside her on the couch, grabbing the burger meant for herself. "Oh no, don't tell me you're not going to eat this. I made this especially for you," Natalie remarked. To be honest, Olivia was really tempted, especially since hamburgers were her favorite. But she had to resist because she was on a diet now. She looked at her friend sadly. "Sorry, I'm on a diet right now," she admitted. Natalie looked at her in disbelief. "Are you serious? This is the first time I've seen you this self-conscious," she said in surprise. Olivia took a deep breath and told her about the arranged marriage between her and Marcus. "You already agreed to it, but you're not even sure if he likes you?" her friend asked in disbelief. "Well, I like him. That's why I agreed. I also don't want to disappoint Dad," she said with a sad tone. Truthfully, she was also wondering if it was right for her to marry Marcus, knowing full well that he probably didn't even like her. Who would like someone like her? Only a blind person would fall for her. Natalie shook her head. "You need to really think this through. Marriage isn't a joke, especially if there's no love between you two. What if he has other reasons for wanting to marry you? It could be business-related," she pointed out. Olivia had thought of that too, but she still believed that one day she could make him fall for her. She looked at her friend. "I'll do whatever it takes to make him fall for me. I know one day he'll love me," she said with determination. Natalie sighed. "It's your call. Just know that if you ever need someone, I'm here for you," she said sincerely. Olivia smiled. She was lucky to have a friend like her. That night, Olivia was lying on her bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything Natalie had said. What if Marcus never ended up loving her? She shook her head and tried to focus on the positive, not the negative. Olivia was awakened by the ringing of her phone. She reached for it, and her eyes widened when she saw Marcus's number. She answered right away. "Hello," she greeted nervously. He cleared his throat. "Good evening, Olivia," he greeted. "Good evening." Why did you call?" she asked shyly. "I wanted to ask if you're free for lunch tomorrow. I mean, a lunch date." "Would that be okay?" "Do you have anything planned?" he asked. "Yes, of course. I'm free tomorrow." "I don't have anything scheduled," she blurted out, overly excited. She bit her lip from embarrassment. She felt like a teenager thrilled to see her crush. "Sorry, I just got excited to get to know you," she explained. Marcus chuckled. His laugh was music to her ears. Was this really what being in love felt like, where everything about the person seemed perfect? "That's fine, so tomorrow we'll meet up. I'll message you the time, or maybe I'll just pick you up. Is that okay?" he asked. She nodded even though he couldn't see her. "Sure, I'll wait for you," she said. "Good night, Olivia." "Sleep well," he said before hanging up. "Good night, see you tomorrow," she replied and ended the call. Once she set the phone down, she rolled on the bed, squealing with giddiness. Who would have thought Marcus had just asked her out on a date? She promised herself she'd look great tomorrow. But then the excitement faded as she remembered she was overweight. She looked at herself. "Why do I have to be so fat?" she muttered. She fell asleep thinking about how she could change herself. The day Olivia had been waiting for finally arrived. Marcus had texted that he'd pick her up at 11 o'clock in the morning. It was only 10 a.m., but she was already checking her closet for something to wear. She had pulled out so many clothes but still couldn't decide. She flopped onto the bed in frustration. After taking a short break and finally settling on an outfit, she went into the bathroom to take a shower. Once she was done, she got dressed. She wore a dress that ended just above her thighs, exposing her thick legs. She fixed herself up, making sure she looked good. She heard the sound of a car outside. She stood up and went to the window to take a peek. Her heart pounded when she saw Marcus step out of a luxury sports car. Her parents greeted him outside. She leaned against the wall as his eyes met hers through the window. She grabbed her handbag from the bed, left her room, and walked to the living room. She arrived to find her father chatting with Marcus. When Marcus saw her, he smiled, though she could tell it seemed a bit forced. He stood up, turned to her parents, and said, "We'll head out now, Uncle Thomas and Aunt Elena." Then he approached her. "Let's go," he said, letting her walk ahead. As they passed by her parents, they told them to enjoy their date. Marcus had even opened the sports car door for her. They didn't speak on the way to the restaurant. Not a word was exchanged until they reached their destination. She started thinking maybe he was only going along with this because their parents wanted them to date. She shook the thought away, convincing herself maybe he just wasn't in the mood to talk. When the car stopped, he got out and opened the passenger door for her. After she thanked him, he guided her inside. She froze when she noticed there wasn't a single person in the restaurant. She looked at him, but he was busy on his phone. She couldn't help but feel hurt that his attention wasn't on her. "Why is it just the two of us here?" Olivia asked once they were inside the restaurant. Marcus stopped what he was doing on his phone, put it in his pocket, and looked at her. "I rented the whole restaurant for our date, so there'd be no hassle," he said. He smiled, and it felt like something warm brushed her heart because of how sweet that was. But then a thought struck her. What if he rented the whole place because he was embarrassed to be seen with someone as heavy as her? She took a deep breath, trying to ease the pain she felt. She forced herself to stick to the first explanation. She didn't want the day to be ruined. "Thank you," she said softly. He gave a faint smile and led her to a two-seater table in the middle. He pulled out a chair for her. "Thanks," she said. He just nodded and sat across from her. He called the waiter, took the menu, and handed one to her. "Order whatever you like, but maybe don't order too much." "Just enough," he said. She bit her lip. She felt insulted. Sure, she liked food, but around people, she always ate modestly. She just nodded. He didn't really know her yet anyway, and at least he said it politely. Once the waiter took their order and left, he spoke up. "I spoke with Dad. He said we'll be getting married next week. One of his friends, a judge, will officiate, he began. She nodded. Here it was. She was finally going to ask the question that had been bothering her. "Why do you want to marry me?" she asked. He looked at her. "Of course, because of business. I don't even know you well enough to marry you for no reason. But they say love can be learned, so it's not impossible that I could fall for you. But if you want to back out, do it now while there's still time," he said. Her eyes widened. "No, I'm not backing out. I'm doing this for Dad because I owe him so much. But like you said, love can be learned. So there's no reason for me to back out," she said. She didn't want to admit she liked him too. What if he rejected her? She'd be humiliated. He nodded. "At least we both have our reasons. So neither of us is being forced," he said. Then he glanced at her arm, and she noticed his brows slightly furrow. Moments later, their orders arrived. While they were eating, Marcus suddenly spoke. "I have a suggestion," he said. She looked at him. For some reason, she felt nervous, especially with the way he was staring at her. "What is it?" she asked. "Can you go on a diet?" he asked, and she stopped eating. There it was. She knew her weight would be an issue. Maybe that's also why he rented the whole restaurant, so no one would see him dating someone like her. Well, what else did she expect? She knew he wouldn't be able to accept her as she was. "Just try it, okay?" "There's nothing to lose," he suggested, smiling. She could see the sadness in her eyes even as she smiled. "Thanks. Honestly, I've been trying, but it's hard, especially when I see good food. I can't help myself." "But I'll try," she replied with a small smile and focused on her meal, hoping he wouldn't notice the pain written all over her face. Days passed, and Marcus kept visiting her at home. They always ate together, and over time they grew more comfortable with each other and got to know each other better. But not once did he try to hold her hand or even put an arm around her. That hurt, especially since they were getting married in 2 days. She kept telling herself maybe he was just shy or still awkward around her. The wedding day came, and there she was again, standing in front of the mirror, staring at herself. There was a knock on the door. Her mother entered with a smile. "Good morning, honey. Are you ready?" she asked. Olivia forced a smile. "Yes, Mom, I'm ready." But was she really ready, or was she just ready because she liked Marcus and didn't want to disappoint her parents? Her mom walked over, wrapped an arm around her, and looked at their reflection in the mirror. "Why do you look sad, sweetheart? If you don't want to go through with this, you can still back out. We'll explain everything to Uncle Robert," she said gently. Olivia shook her head and forced a genuine smile. "It's okay, Mom. I guess I'm just sad that I won't be living with you and Dad anymore. I'll miss you both," she said emotionally. Her mum's eyes softened and she hugged her. "My baby girl, don't worry. Your dad and I will visit you whenever we can, and Marcus is a good man. He'll be a good husband to you," she said, kissing her on the forehead. Then she invited her to go downstairs because Judge Martinez, the officiant, had arrived. Honestly, she couldn't help but feel excited. She was about to become Mrs. Olivia Parker and start a family. After signing the marriage documents, everyone clapped. Only a few people were present. 2 witnesses, 2 of Marcus's relatives, her parents, Marcus's parents, and her mother's only sister. They all congratulated the newlyweds. They then proceeded to the venue, a restaurant they had rented. Everyone there looked happy, including Olivia. She promised herself she'd serve her husband with everything she had and take care of the children they would have. "Your house is beautiful," Olivia said in admiration as she stepped into Marcus's home. 2 men were helping bring her things inside. She turned to Marcus and caught him staring at her. She couldn't help but feel a flutter. "Yes, but I have rules in this house," he said firmly. She nodded. "Well, that makes sense. Every household needs rules for structure." "What are they?" she asked. Marcus led Olivia to the couch and told her to wait for the 2 men to finish bringing in her stuff. Once the men had left and he paid them, Marcus sat down and faced her. "Let's say just because we've been around each other before the wedding, that doesn't mean I've developed feelings for you," he started. It stung, but she understood. Love took time. "I drafted some rules before the wedding. We'll both sign it to acknowledge our agreement. Do you understand?" he asked. She just nodded. She had no other choice. He excused himself to get the document from his study. When he returned, he handed her the folder. She read the contents one by one. She bit her lip when she read one rule she didn't like. "Why can't we sleep in the same bed, Marcus?" "We're married," she said, but he cut her off. "Yes, I know. But like I said, I won't just fall for you easily, especially since this was all arranged. Maybe that rule will change once I start having feelings for you, and once I'm ready to do that with you," he said seriously. Her heart ached at those words, but she had no choice. She had known from the start that he didn't like her. She nodded in silence. "You also can't enter my room to clean, and we can't go out together as a couple. On paper, we're married, Olivia. I told you before, if you wanted to back out, you could have. But you didn't. I married you for business," he said. "I have something to do. Sign that and then cook me something to eat," he ordered and left the house. They had been married for a week now, and Olivia did everything to show him she could be someone he could love. He even had her on a diet, but when he wasn't around, she couldn't stop herself from eating, especially when she got hungry fast. She tried, but it was hard. That morning, Olivia was making fried rice, Marcus's favorite, when she heard footsteps approaching. She turned and saw her husband walking in, already in his coat and tie. "Good morning," she greeted cheerfully. He just nodded, which disappointed her, but she let it go. Maybe he wasn't in a good mood. She quickly prepared his breakfast and made sure everything was ready. "Let me know if you need anything," she said, standing beside him. He looked at her and then at her plate. "You should lose weight within a month," he said, then returned his focus to his food. She bit her lip. What if she didn't lose weight? What would he do? The truth was, she already loved him. Even if they didn't sleep in the same room, he never yelled or hit her when she made mistakes. That was a huge turn-on. She just smiled. After eating, he said goodbye. He was going to work and might be home late. He told her not to wait up and that he might eat out. She kept herself busy with house chores. That evening, she decided to watch some TV while waiting for Marcus. She had already eaten dinner when her phone rang. It was on the center table. She grabbed it. It was Natalie calling. "Girl, you won't believe what I just saw," her friend exclaimed in a panic. "What do you mean?" "What did you see?" she asked, frowning. "Brace yourself for what I'm about to say." "I just saw Marcus with another woman at a restaurant. Kevin and I were walking in when I spotted him with someone. I pulled Kevin out right away," Natalie explained. Olivia froze. She didn't know what to think or say. "Maybe he just knows her. Maybe she's a relative or something," she said, defending her husband. Natalie sighed. "They looked way too sweet to just be acquaintances. Olivia, your marriage was arranged. It's no surprise if he's seeing someone else, especially since you said he doesn't love you," she pointed out. Olivia swallowed hard. Her chest tightened at the possibility Natalie might be right. "Well, he got what he wanted, so I guess it's fine for him to find someone else and cheat," she said bitterly. "Olivia," her friend shouted on the other end. "What? You're thinking too deeply. If he can't love you, then leave. Just because your marriage was arranged doesn't mean he gets to cheat on you," Natalie advised. The call ended, but Olivia's mind was elsewhere. Soon she heard a car pull up. Marcus must have been home. She zipped her traveling bag, packed with the clothes she wore from day one as his wife. She was pulling it out of her room when Marcus walked in. He paused at the sight of her descending the stairs, dragging her bag. His eyes dropped to the luggage. "So you're leaving," he said, voice cold and without a hint of guilt. She stepped down and faced him. "Yes. I know I'm not your type because I'm heavy, but if all you were going to do was cheat on me, then we should just separate. If you didn't love me, you could have just said so instead of treating me like this," she said, her voice rising in anger. She couldn't stop the tears from falling. She wasn't used to getting angry. But who wouldn't be angry after being cheated on? Yes, she was overweight, but she had dignity. He rolled his eyes. "You're so dramatic. You knew from the beginning this was an arrangement. You should have expected how this would turn out. If you want to leave, then go. Stop being so emotional," he shouted. She snapped. "If I had known it would turn out like this, I never would have married you," she shouted back. He laughed mockingly. "You really think I wanted to marry you?" "Of course not. I only did it to gain control of the company. You think I could ever love you? Never. You're too fat," he screamed. She slapped him hard. He was about to raise a hand to her when she glared. "Try it. I won't hesitate to sue you," she said furiously and stormed out of the house. Tears rolled down Olivia's cheeks. She knew it. Rushed decisions had consequences. If she could go back, she never would have agreed to the marriage. When Olivia arrived at her parents' house, she immediately rang the doorbell. Thankfully, she had her own car, which was still at Marcus's house, so she didn't have any trouble getting home. She had always preferred to have her own vehicle in case she wanted to go out on her own. She felt uncomfortable using Marcus's car. Moments later, the gate opened and her mother appeared, surprised to see her. "Honey, what are you doing here?" her mother asked, her voice tinged with concern. "Did you and Marcus have a fight?" Olivia didn't know how to answer. No words came to her, so instead she threw her arms around her mother and cried. Her mother gently rubbed her back. "Let it out, sweetheart. If that's what will ease your pain, then cry all you need," her mom said, still comforting her. When she finally calmed down, she pulled away. Her mother could see the puffiness in Olivia's eyes. She cupped her daughter's face. "Maybe we should go inside so we can talk about why you're here," her mom said. Olivia nodded, and they walked together into the house. As they stepped in, her father came down the stairs. "Elena, who rang the bell?" he asked, rubbing his eyes. His eyes widened when he saw Olivia. "Sweetheart," he blurted and quickly descended the stairs to meet her. "Why are you here? Did you and Marcus have a fight?" he asked, worried. Olivia shook her head, and once again the tears began to fall. "Marcus has another woman," she said, then sat on the couch, wiping her tears. Olivia's father's eyes darkened with anger, while her mother's face filled with sorrow. "I'm going to talk to Robert. That boy Marcus won't get away with this," her dad said furiously, his fists clenched and his neck veins bulging in rage. Olivia shook her head. "There's no point. Even if you tell Mr. Robert what Marcus did, it won't change anything. The decision to get married was between me and Marcus. It's my fault too. I agreed to marry him. I regret it," she said through sobs. Her father took a deep breath and her mother sat beside her, gently holding her hand. "What do you want to do now, sweetheart?" her mother asked softly, concern etched into her face. Olivia looked at her father. "I want to be alone for now, Mom, Dad. I need time to unwind. Maybe that'll help me move on," she said. Her father nodded. "If that's what will help ease your pain, then do it, sweetheart," he said, sitting beside her and holding her left hand. "I want to apologize for the decision we made for you. If we had known it would turn out like this, we never would have arranged your marriage," he said with deep regret. She looked at her father and gave him a soft smile. "It's okay, Dad. It already happened. There's no point in blaming anyone now. I learned something from this, to never make life decisions in a rush. It's okay," she said, trying to reassure herself, but deep down her chest still felt tight. Still, eventually, the pain would fade. Time heals all wounds. After that conversation, she went to her room to rest and forced herself to sleep. She had already decided tomorrow she would go to Seabreeze Resort, which was owned by her godmother, Aunt Victoria. Her godmother came from a wealthy family and was one of her mother's closest friends. Meanwhile, Ethan was excited as he traveled towards Seabreeze Resort. It was owned by his Aunt Victoria, a cousin of his mother. The resort was close to the beach, so he was sure he'd enjoy it. He needed to relax after a stretch of busy days working at his father's company. Once he got married, his father planned to hand over the role of CEO to him. He chuckled. He wasn't ready to settle down yet. He was still enjoying single life. No responsibilities. When Ethan arrived at the resort, he parked his car in the area near the hotel. He grabbed his medium-sized travel bag from the trunk. A bellboy approached him. Once inside the hotel, the bellboy took his bag as they headed to the reception desk. After checking in, the bellboy accompanied him to his room. "Enjoy your stay here, sir," the bellboy said cheerfully. Ethan smiled and, once alone, shut the door and collapsed onto the bed. "Finally, I can get some rest," he said to himself. He stood and went to the bathroom for a shower, planning to have dinner later at the downstairs restaurant. After showering and getting dressed, he stepped out of his room. "Are you sure you can manage being alone here at the resort?" he heard a woman's voice ask. He turned toward the sound. It came from the room next to his. The woman had her back turned, but her companion was facing him. Of course, don't worry, Natalie. I'll be fine. I need this, so please don't worry, said the woman. She was on the heavier side, but she was beautiful and carried herself well. Her dress looked great on her. She had fair skin, in his opinion. He realized it might be rude to keep eavesdropping, so he decided to head for the elevator. Olivia couldn't help but glance at the man who had been behind Natalie, but he was already walking away toward the elevator. He wasn't too far, but not close enough for her to see his face clearly. He had a great build and was tall. I'll be heading out now. Take care, okay? If you need anything, don't hesitate to call me, Natalie told her warmly, gently squeezing her hand. I know you can get through this. You're one of the strongest women I know. Olivia smiled. Natalie truly knew her well. She was grateful to have a friend like her. She squeezed Natalie's hand. Thank you, Natalie. Natalie waved it off. Come on, don't mention it. We're best friends, aren't we? She said, making them both laugh. Olivia and Natalie decided to go downstairs together, but parted ways at the lobby. Olivia was heading to the restaurant for dinner. She invited Natalie to join, but Natalie declined, saying she didn't want to stay out too late. After saying goodbye, Olivia entered the restaurant, which was located on the right side of the hotel. She chose an empty table near the entrance. After she sat down, a server came over and handed her the menu. Just then, a man walked in, the same man she'd seen earlier. She didn't get a good look at his face before, but she knew it was him because of the clothes he was wearing. Their eyes met. She didn't know why, but she suddenly felt self-conscious. Did he think she looked unpleasant? She took a deep breath and turned her gaze toward the window until her food arrived. Once she finished eating and paid the bill, she decided to head back to her room. Tomorrow she would go to the beach to clear her head. Olivia woke up feeling refreshed. She wore a blue sleeveless blouse paired with denim shorts that ended above the knee and a white chiffon cardigan. She looked at her reflection in the mirror. The outfit suited her well. Even if she was on the heavier side, she knew how to carry herself. She left her room and headed straight to the shore. She was walking along the beach when someone spoke behind her. Are you alone, miss? The voice asked, prompting her to turn around and see the man occupying the room next to hers. She couldn't help but admire his build. He wore a Hawaiian polo with all the buttons undone, revealing his toned chest. She looked away. Yes, she answered shortly. Want some company? Walking's more fun with someone else. It's less boring, don't you think? He said, a smile on his face. Olivia couldn't help but stare at the handsome stranger. Really, what harm could it do if he joined her? He probably wasn't going to try anything, especially with other people around. He laughed. Don't worry, I'm not going to do anything bad, if that's what you're afraid of, he said. It's not that, she replied. Sure, actually that's a good idea. At least I'll have someone to talk to. He walked beside her and they started strolling together. It felt nice, the ocean water lapping gently at her feet as the waves rolled in. You're not from around here, are you? Ethan asked as they walked. Earlier, when he saw her walking by the beach, he decided to approach her. Even though she was curvy, he couldn't help but admire her figure. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw her glance at him but keep her gaze forward. There was just something about her that drew him in like a magnet. No, I came here for a reason, she replied, her voice tinged with sadness. He turned to her and held out his hand. I'm Ethan, he introduced himself. She smiled and accepted the handshake. Olivia, she said, then quickly pulled her hand back. That's a beautiful name, just like the person who owns it, he said sincerely, staring into her eyes. Her cheeks flushed, and she looked away. Don't flatter me. I'm not beautiful, she said. Why would I lie? Am I some con artist? I meant what I said. You are beautiful. Haven't you heard the saying, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, he said. She looked back at him, and he saw tears starting to form in her eyes. Had he said something wrong? Without thinking, he reached up to wipe the tears from her cheeks. Sorry, I didn't mean to make you cry. Looks like you're going through something. You can talk to me. I'll listen, he offered. Olivia looked uncertain, so Ethan spoke again. They say it's sometimes better to open up to a stranger, less judgment, he added with a gentle smile. She just stared at him, then eventually smiled and nodded. You're right. Maybe it'll help if I tell someone what I'm feeling. Maybe you can give me some advice too. And maybe it'll help me feel lighter, she said, and turned toward the shore, then sat down. He followed and sat beside her. They didn't care that the seawater splashed over them. What mattered was that they enjoyed each other's company. She began talking about what she was going through, and as he listened, he couldn't help but feel anger toward her husband. That man didn't know how to appreciate real beauty, the kind that came from within. When she cried, he turned to her and embraced her tightly. "Go ahead and cry. If that'll ease your burden, then do it," he said, holding her as she wept. After a while, she pulled away. "Sorry, now your clothes are all wet," she said, unable to meet his eyes. He smiled. "It's fine. What matters is that it helped you feel better," he said jokingly. She smiled. He laughed too. "Why don't you try to lose weight again? Who knows, maybe this time you'll succeed," he encouraged. Her face suddenly fell. "I've already tried, but nothing happened," she said. "That's because you didn't have a reason to push yourself. Now you do. Think about what he did to you. Use that as your motivation. It'll help you change. And besides, it's good for your health too, right?" he said. She stared at him. "Why are you doing this? You don't even know me," she asked, clearly confused. He looked back at her. "Do I need to know you first before I help you? And besides, after everything you told me, I do know you. Helping doesn't need qualifications. Whether I know you or not, what matters is that I sincerely want to help," he replied. "So, are you in?" he asked, encouraging her. Olivia smiled sweetly and nodded. Then her face turned serious. "Yes, I'm in. I'll prove to Marcus that I can change. I'll show him I can transform myself," she said with fierce determination. Olivia and Ethan were now at the gym because it was the first thing on their agenda. In fact, she hadn't eaten rice the day before, just fruits and vegetables as part of her diet. It turned out that Ethan used to be a fitness instructor and was the current president of his father's company. She had already started working out, and it was tough. But what kept her going was the thought of proving to Marcus and to herself that she could really change. "Are you tired?" Ethan asked as they sat on a bench, resting and drinking water. She turned to him. "Yes, but I can do this. I'll endure it for myself," she said with determination. She was caught off guard when he wiped the sweat from her forehead, where beads of perspiration had gathered. She stared at his face, and suddenly her heart started to race. What did this mean? She stood up. "Let's keep going. The sooner we finish, the better," she said. She heard Ethan sigh, but he stood up too. "Sure," he replied without much energy and walked over to the gym equipment. It wasn't hard to like Ethan, but she didn't want to get hurt. What if he was only doing all this to help her build confidence, not because it meant anything more? She didn't want to hope. Getting her hopes up would only lead to heartbreak. "You're not from around here, are you?" Ethan asked as they walked. Earlier, when he saw her walking by the beach, he decided to approach her. Even though she was curvy, he couldn't help but admire her figure. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw her glance at him but keep her gaze forward. 2 weeks passed with Olivia following her routine. Along with her balanced diet, she began noticing she was slowly losing weight. She had also informed her parents that she'd be staying a bit longer, telling them she was simply enjoying her vacation. Ethan had done the same. She felt a little guilty that his work was affected, but he told her it was fine. His sister had taken over his duties temporarily. He promised to stay with her until her weight loss journey succeeded. She was so thankful to him. As days went by, she felt herself growing closer to him. Sometimes she would catch herself staring at the ceiling, thinking about him. She realized she liked him. He was caring, and though she didn't want to read too much into it until he told her how he really felt, she wouldn't let herself believe it meant more. But the question remained, was there a chance he liked her back? She looked at her reflection in the mirror. The Olivia she saw there looked so different now. After a month and 2 weeks, she had lost a significant amount of weight, and her body had changed. After continuously sticking to her routine, she had succeeded in her goal. She smiled. So this was what it felt like to achieve something you worked hard for. It felt amazing. Today she and Ethan were meeting up for a meal, and she planned to thank him properly. Tomorrow she'd carry out her plan to confront Marcus. A series of knocks interrupted her thoughts. She went to the door and opened it. There stood Ethan, his handsome face framed by a checkered polo and denim shorts. His eyes scanned her from head to toe, clear admiration on his face. "Wow, you've really changed, Olivia. You're not the same woman I met before," he said, gazing at her with awe. She bit her lip, feeling shy. "Thank you," he smiled. "Thank yourself. You made this happen with your determination. You helped yourself. Beautiful inside and out," he said, still looking at her. Olivia's cheeks turned red at Ethan's words. She was wearing a summer dress that hugged her body nicely. "You're looking good too. That outfit suits you perfectly," she complimented. He laughed. "That outfit suits you too. So does that mean we suit each other?" he teased, making her heart beat faster. She didn't know how to respond. "Just kidding," he quickly added, and she felt a twinge of disappointment. "Let's go," he said, taking her hand and guiding her out of her room. She glanced at their joined hands and just smiled, letting it be. He only let go when they stepped inside the elevator. When they reached the lobby, they walked to the mini restaurant near the beach. There were tables outside with large umbrellas providing shade. Ethan pulled out a chair for her and she sat down with a thank you. He sat across from her. After having coffee, he looked at her. "I'll take you home," he offered. "No," she began, but he cut her off. "I insist. I'll take you," he said firmly. She had no choice but to agree. "So what's your plan?" he asked. She took a deep breath. "I'm going to surprise Marcus. I want him to feel what I felt before," she said, full of determination. Ethan just nodded and said nothing more. Scene 25. After lunch, they went to the bar nearby. It was open even in the morning. They had fun, but Olivia ended up getting drunk because of her low alcohol tolerance. "You're drunk," Ethan said as he put an arm around her and led her out of the bar and back to the hotel. Thankfully, it was just next door. When he laid her on the bed, she pulled him down, causing him to fall on top of her. Then she kissed him passionately. Ethan couldn't help but respond. He had feelings for her too. It escalated into something more intimate. Ethan froze when he realized Olivia was a virgin. He hadn't expected that he would be the first. He could see the pain on her face. "I love you," she whispered. He felt a pang in his chest because he feared she might be thinking of Marcus. Still, he continued, this would be their last night together, and if there were consequences, he was ready to take responsibility. He closed his eyes as he reached his peak. He lay down beside her and saw her smiling, though her eyes were closed. "Thank you for giving yourself to me," he said, kissed her on the lips, and closed his eyes. Tomorrow they would talk about what happened. Olivia woke up with soreness in the lower part of her body. She opened her eyes and her heart began to race when she saw Ethan staring at her. He smiled. "Good morning, beautiful," he greeted, making her blush and look away. She remembered clearly what happened between them last night. Sure, she was drunk, but she still knew what she was doing. Suddenly, the memory of their intimacy rushed back. Even though she had been drinking, she had her senses. She didn't regret giving herself to him. "Good morning," she replied. "I didn't think I'd be the first man to be with you," he said. She looked up and met his gaze. "Do you regret that something happened between us? Don't you like that I entrusted myself to you?" she asked. He hadn't answered yet, but her heart was already pounding. He cupped her cheek and leaned closer, locking eyes with her. "Why would I regret it? What happened between us was the happiest moment I've had here. More than that, meeting someone like you, and if what happened leads to something more, I'll take responsibility because that's how much I love you," he confessed. Her eyes widened. "You love me?" she asked, surprised. He smiled. "Yes, I love you. I love you so much. Even if you never changed, I would have still accepted you completely." "That's how much you mean to me," he said. "And you? Do you love me too?" he asked hesitantly. She bit her lip. She had thought her love was one-sided, but now she realized it wasn't. Because the man she loved her back. "Yes, I love you too, Ethan. I love you so much. With you, I felt what it's like to be truly accepted for who I am. You showed me love that isn't based on outward appearance." "Thank you for coming into my life," she said emotionally. He immediately pulled her into a kiss, deep, passionate, and full of longing. And for the second time, their bodies became one. Olivia stepped out of the sports car at that moment. She was now at the Parker group of companies. Her father had assigned her to attend the meeting with Marcus. No matter what had happened between them, the relationship between Robert Parker and her father remained intact. Mr. Robert had no fault in what his son had done. She took a deep breath and walked toward the building entrance. The security guard immediately opened the door for her. As soon as she entered the lobby, all eyes turned to her. She could see the admiration in their faces. With her head held high, she walked straight to the elevator that would take her to the 5th floor where the conference room was located. When the elevator doors opened, she stepped out and walked down the hallway toward the far end where the conference room was. She took a deep breath before entering. Everyone turned to look at her. On their faces were surprise, awe, and admiration. Mr. Robert Parker stood up, visibly impressed, and approached her with a smile on his lips. "Olivia Parker?" he asked. She wanted to roll her eyes upon hearing the last name, but she couldn't change it now. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw Marcus watching her, scanning her from head to toe, unmistakable admiration on his face. Olivia gave Mr. Robert a sweet smile. "Yes, that's me. My dad asked me to attend this meeting on his behalf. He and Mum had an urgent appointment," she said, using the excuse they had agreed on. The truth was, it was their plan all along to show Marcus that she was no longer the overweight woman he once disrespected. Mr. Robert nodded. "You look gorgeous today," he said, clearly impressed. He turned to the others in the room. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to meet Olivia Parker, my daughter-in-law and the daughter of Mr. Thomas Brandon," he announced. Though surprised, everyone clapped. Mr. Robert also apologized for the private nature of their wedding and explained why no one had seen her until now. She took the seat beside Marcus. He leaned toward her ear. "We need to talk later. By the way, you look beautiful," he whispered. She wanted to gag at his words. The look in his eyes was full of desire. She told herself, "Not now, Marcus." She smiled politely and nodded. They really did need to talk. Her fist clenched under the table when he rested his hand on her thigh, slowly rubbing and squeezing it. "I missed you. You've changed so much, Olivia. I'm impressed," he whispered. She just smiled and focused on the meeting. After the meeting, she and Marcus were left alone. She crossed her arms. "I have something to say," she began. "I'm going to file for divorce," she said, standing and facing him. He shook his head. "No, I won't agree to a divorce. When you were gone, I realized all my mistakes. Please forgive me, Olivia. Now that you're not the same woman you were before, I won't let you go. Give us another chance. I promise I'll change and love you," he begged, even kneeling in front of her. "Best actor, I'm sorry, but I don't love you anymore. I've fallen for someone else." "Now you know how it feels not to be chosen," she said, removing his hand from her leg and stepping away. "One of these days I'll send you the divorce papers," she said and turned around. Olivia smiled to herself, seeing the pain on Marcus's face. He wasn't chosen. Suddenly she thought of Ethan. She missed him already. Soon they would finally be free. After taking care of the divorce paperwork, she would go back to him. She had promised. Ethan couldn't concentrate on the work in front of his computer in his office. His mind was drifting, and he was also sleep-deprived. Olivia had been on his mind constantly for the past week since he dropped her off at home. She had promised she would visit him at his office, but every day that passed without her showing up left him disappointed. Sometimes he wondered, maybe she had gotten back together with Marcus. The thought hurt. He loved her so much. She was the woman he wanted to walk down the aisle with, the woman he wanted to be the mother of his children. He took a deep breath, trying to shake off those thoughts. "Looks like someone's busy," a familiar voice said. His heart raced as he heard the voice he had been longing for. Was he hallucinating? Was his mind playing tricks on him because all he could think about was her? He looked up, and he wasn't mistaken. Standing before him was the woman who had consumed his thoughts for nearly a week. "Olivia," he said in disbelief. She smiled and slowly approached him. He stood up and met her halfway. He wrapped his arms around her waist and stared into her eyes. She placed her arms around his neck. "Yes, it's me. Did you miss me?" she teased, smiling. Suddenly, he felt a wave of emotion. "I missed you so much," he said with deep sincerity. Her face softened. She removed one hand from around his neck and placed her finger gently under his eyes. "You haven't been sleeping," she said with concern. "Who wouldn't lose sleep when all they think about every day is you? I couldn't help but worry. You didn't come back. I thought maybe you chose to stay with him," Ethan admitted. Olivia didn't let Ethan finish. She silenced him with a tender kiss, which he returned with deep passion and warmth. He pulled her even closer, pressing their bodies together. Their lips parted, breathless, foreheads touching, eyes locked. "Thank you for coming back. I missed you," he whispered sincerely. "When I said I'd come back, I meant it. I love you, Ethan. I love you so much. Thank you for coming into my life. You're a blessing," she said emotionally. "I used to think no one would ever love me for real, but I was wrong. When you came into my life, I realized someone could still accept me. Thank you so much," she continued. He was speechless, so instead he kissed her again, pouring all his love into that moment. He thanked God for bringing Olivia into his life. Love moves in mysterious ways, they say, and that was exactly what had happened to them. 3 months later, Olivia and Ethan decided to get married. 6 months after that, Olivia gave birth to a healthy baby girl they named Emma. During their first month as a couple, Olivia had already become pregnant. Ethan stepped out of the car excited. He had just come home from work. He was now the CEO of Mitchell Enterprise. He rushed into the house and headed straight to their bedroom, eager to see her. There he found Olivia standing while cradling their daughter. She looked at him and smiled. He smiled back. He walked over, kissed her on the forehead, and asked, "How was your day, love?" She took a deep breath. Her face showed signs of exhaustion. "It's tiring, but I'm happy. I love taking care of Emma, and I love taking care of you. That's the vow I made when we got married," she said, looking at him sincerely. He caressed her cheek. "Thank you, love. You should change now," she told him. He laughed. "Good idea. I'm starting to get irritated in these clothes. Can you believe I've had this on all day?" he joked. She laughed too, and he kissed her forehead before heading off to change. Once he returned, he approached her and took Emma from her arms. "I'll take care of her for now. You go rest. I'll wake you when dinner's ready. Martha will call us," he said. Even though he had just gotten home from a long day of work, he knew Olivia needed the rest more. He had suggested hiring a nanny to help with Emma, but Olivia declined. She wanted to personally care for their daughter. Nothing could replace a mother's care. Martha was their housekeeper and had been helping them since Olivia was 7 months pregnant. Olivia smiled. "Thank you, love. Even though I know you're tired, you still help me," she said sweetly. "It's my responsibility too," he replied and quickly kissed her lips. Olivia lay on the bed to rest while he held their healthy little girl. "We love you so much, Emma, and we promise to give you everything you need and all the love you deserve," he said, kissing his daughter's forehead. He looked at Olivia, who had already fallen into a deep sleep. He promised himself, no matter what came their way, no matter what happened, he would stay strong for his family. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like and comment at the comment section below.